So, hello everyone, and welcome back to Satisfactory. So, when we left off, we were building our neuroquantum processor factory, and what we had discovered is that we have a bit of an aluminum problem. Now, currently there's enough. At this exact moment, it's running, because we got a train delivery relatively recently. But I believe we are going to have problems where we are going to run out pretty quickly. It's just these outer three which still have some, and they are also running out. So this is going to run on empty any second now, and then we'll be in quite a bit of trouble. So, one of the things which I want to do is that this is kind of an insanely huge aluminum demand. So, I think this might be where we finally get around to actually properly using summer sloops. Now, so this is now not running at full speed, and once this box empties out, it's gonna stop entirely. So that is about to happen any second now. And so what I was thinking is, of these aluminum ingots, the vast majority of them, like over 2,000 of them, are going into this row of constructors. So, what I was thinking is, we get a bunch of summer sloops together, and we need, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for this, although we might be able to make it more efficient. Let's see here. So this is supposed to be 24.4 constructors in total, which means we might be able to squeeze it down to 10. Which would be convenient, but we only have 2 summer sloops, which is far from ideal. So, I guess the first thing we're going to do is we are going to get the old... Let's see, which slot do we want to close? Let's get the summer sloop scanner, and we are just going to drop down to ground level and start hunting. If we can get a good number of these, that would be pretty swell. Okay, now we have radar towers, right? Yes, there's 1 summer sloop in this whole gigantic area. That's not a good sign. Is there anywhere where there are more of them? There are 2 in that whole giant area. How do I have radar coverage in this area between those 2? I don't see the radar that's responsible for doing that. I don't know. I guess we will move this way. I mean, our odds of finding any are very slim in here. So we're going to move up to this sort of more northern central area. Hopefully there are more in there. And we are just going to try to find some summer sloops. We don't really care about anything else. I guess hard drives wouldn't be terrible, but we don't scan for those anyways. If we happen to stumble across them in our searches, there are still a small handful of remaining hard drives, I believe. Alright, so we are just running along. And I do not know... Let's see, let's hide a lot of this stuff on the map so that we can just see where our radar towers are. Alright, so all of those are gone. So let's also hide the resources, because we just care about the radar towers themselves. Okay, there's 9 in this area up this way, so that is going to be much more profitable for our summer sloop hunting. So let's run up that way and just keep the old scanner out, ready to tell us if there's anything. I guess we could also like go through old factories, because there's definitely some summer sloops just lying around in random places, like in other machines that we don't need them for anymore. But I feel like that'll be the step we take if we get even more desperate. Right now there should still be enough summer sloops in the map. I haven't done that much hunting for them. So we get you, and let's see here. That radar tower has 1. This radar tower has 2. That's actually useful. That means there's a summer sloop in that area over there, which I can go over and grab. And I guess we can fly through this area as well, and just, if we happen to encounter the last remaining summer sloop in here, then we can pick it up. It's probably going to be in some weird spot. Okay, there's a hard drive here. I assume this has been grabbed already. Yes, it has. There you go. Dismantle that so that it's not confusing. Alright, now we are in the Blue Crater region, which I'd be very surprised if there was still a summer sloop hiding out in here. It's not impossible, but I've spent a fair chunk of time in this area. So let's just try to just blast on through this relatively quickly. And still nothing so far. Oh, when you land on the terrain and it's just not quite right, it completely stops you, which is the worst. Okay, so we just keep on going. We head north a bit. We should encounter more summer sloops. Hopefully. Not much luck so far. We haven't spent all that much time looking. So, okay, there we go. We have another summer sloop on the scanner. It's up this way. Probably at the top of this ledge here. There it is. Summer sloop found. Alright, so we can pick that up. And that is that. Then, yeah, so we just need to head far enough north. Oh, wait, there's another summer sloop on radar already. That's great. I see it. It's up here. Alright, so this, we pick you up. And that is that. And we just keep heading north. We have to try to stick close to the level of the train so that we can get summer sloop detection from further away. Okay, let's not randomly get hit by a drone in midair. That would be extremely unlucky. Alright, so yeah, so the problem is if there's a summer sloop down that way, we'd have to get like right on top of it to see it because of how high up we are. On the other hand, if there's a summer sloop up here and we drop down there, then we need to be right below it. Alright, summer sloop detected. So we just head along this way, past the random Mercer sphere. Okay. It's somewhere close. I'm not sure where exactly, though. It's this way, but far down, I would assume. Yes. Okay. So we're losing height and it's getting closer. So I guess we're looking for like a cave entrance or something over here. Maybe down this way. My earbud keeps falling out. That needs to stay in. Okay, there's all these poison pillars here, which makes me think there's something, and yes, there is. Very cool. Alright, so that gets blasted open. And then we have to go into this tiny little cave. Oh wow, this cave is awful. We've got giant spiders, we've got radiation. All in all, not a pleasant place to be. Does it go anywhere? No, that's just a loop. Okay. Okay, wait, now I'm disoriented. How do we get out of this? Where did we come from? There we go. Just back this way. And we can head back up and keep heading north. So this is the swamp area, and there's like 7 of them in there. And that should be pretty good because the swamp is relatively flat. Unless they're all like around the edges or something. So we're going to head into the swamp. We've also built giant factories everywhere. The swamp, I think, is just the most densely factory built out area of the map at this point. Like, there are multiple levels basically everywhere. And yet, so far, no summer sloops. Let's land and try to figure out exactly where this region is. So it catches a bunch of that area up there. Okay. Up we go. Did I like somehow pick up? Oh no, I'm just sitting right next to the whole nuclear power plant. That makes sense. Speaking of the nuclear power plant, everything here going well. I see a lot of green lights. That's probably fine. Alright. Let's just do a quick check of that as we pass through. Up we go. And we just keep on moving this way. This whole area is a gigantic radiation cloud, which is definitely something. Okay, we're finally getting out of that. And we're still within the radar tower range, so we could definitely hit some summer sloops up in this area up here. Alright, let's look around. It said there were 7 in this area, and yet I am not seeing even a single one. I've had more luck finding summer sloops in the area where there's literally 1 than in this area where there's allegedly 7. Okay, there we go. There's one on the scanner. So now we just move across this way, and apparently it's over here. Okay. Here we are right on top of it, which means we need to find a way down. I don't know, maybe there's some weird nonsense up here that leads directly down. No, it's gonna be in a cave in the side of this wall. Yes. Like this one maybe? Didn't mean to hit the ground so hard there. Is that a cave entrance or is that just a random nook? Okay. Looking for cave entrances. The worst part of hunting for things in this game. They're so hard to find. Because the cave entrance could genuinely be anywhere. Like, it could be 20 miles away, for all I know. It could be right here. This is a nice cliff wall, which could have a cave entrance in it. And is that it? No, that's not a cave entrance. None of this stuff looks correct. Okay. We are not having much luck finding that cave. I think this is a different one on the scanner now. We're heading over this way in a different direction. So hopefully that'll be easier. It's probably just like up in this tree or something. Yes, that's easy to find. Alright, so we picked that up. We're up to 7 summer sloops. We need at least 10 to do what we need to do. Alright, here is a hard drive. Is this one which I've already grabbed? Yes, it is. I really wish I hadn't forgotten to dismantle like half of the hard drives in this game. It would save a whole lot of time checking. Alright, we just keep on sweeping through this area. Okay, hard drive detected over not hard drive, summer sloop. Detected over this way. So let's get flying. Alright. Just keep getting more precise. It's probably up this rock. Okay. The scanner is saying it's like underneath this uranium or something. Is that? Okay. Well, that's annoying. So we are going to, I guess, see if it's literally inside the uranium patch, which means we're going to have to manually mine uranium, which is going to drain a whole bunch of filters. And how much of this stuff do we need to get rid of? There we go. We found it. Got the summer sloop. And the uranium goes in a box. And we walk away. Alright, so this... Alright, this radar has 13 summer sloops in it. That's crazy. That's a huge amount. So we're definitely going to try to stick around this area then. Alright, summer sloops, where are you? I'm just sort of flying around in circles looking for them. Just have to get within a certain radius and then they'll pop up. But no luck so far. Do not need more Mercer spheres. We can just skip those. Okay. Have we... No, we haven't quite overshot this area yet, but we do need to be careful. Obviously, the summer sloops might be around the edges. But we don't want to go completely out of it. Okay, there's one summer sloop spotted. And we just fly over this way, probably up in this tree. There it is. A lot of them are hiding up in trees. Alright, we are now at 9. And let's see here. Let's try to gain some height and just scan while we fall. Yeah, we should. We're still in the area, so we're going to keep heading in this direction until we find more summer sloops. Okay, there's another one. And here we go. Just fly over this way. And it's going to be up in a tree again, I bet. Alright, there it is. No problem at all. Alright, that is summer sloop number 10. But let's keep picking up some more, because we can save even more aluminum if we have more summer sloops. Okay, what? Is this directly beneath us? Yes, it's right down here somehow. Is this another annoying underground one? Are we pretty high up altitude-wise? Yes. So there's gonna be a cave entrance somewhere that we need to do to find that one, which cave entrances are so hard to find. Yeah, I think what this... we could really use like a scanner mode that just scans for cave entrances, because they're really, really hard to find otherwise. They don't glow, they don't make sounds, they're just and they're often very far from the thing you're looking for. Okay. Let's just head over this way, I guess, because I don't think I've been this general vicinity before. Okay, I'll grab a Mercer Sphere, just for the sake of doing so. Alright, where are we at this point? We are down here, which is sort of right on a border between areas, but there are no summer sloops in that radar tower. And there's still 6 back there and 11 back there, so let's head northwest again. Maybe take a bit of a roundabout path just in case that helps. And let's see here. Anything down there? Doesn't look like it. I think I saw a cave entrance, but I don't think there's a summer sloop in that one. And if there is, I already got it. Okay. So we have this one being scanned. And we have this whole waterfall thing back here. Alright, so we've found it. It's in here. We just need to get in. And let all of that stuff disappear so I can see what's going on. Alright, where is this summer sloop exactly? There we go. There we go. Pick that one up. And now we're up to 11 summer sloops. And just sort of keep heading this northwest-ish direction. Should be helpful. Alright, so we can head over this way. There's another summer sloop in here, but this is, I believe, the same one which is in a mysterious cave somewhere. I mean, the cave entrance is probably back here, but it also might not be. I don't want to double back to check that waterfall again. There are like 20 caves down there. Alright. Yeah, we're just gonna move past that one because it's gonna be annoying to find. And just keep on going. I think we're just gonna find one more and then be good with that, because we started with 2 summer sloops. If we throw 10 summer sloops in and end with 2 summer sloops, then that works out nicely, basically. Okay, so where is another summer sloop? Where could they possibly be? Okay, there's one over this way. And let me guess, it's up in this tree. Wow. What a surprise. Okay. So that is that. And now we have enough. So let's respawn. Through the power of keep inventory, we will have all that stuff on us still. And then we need to remember where we were going. So let's put train stations back on the map. The neural quantum processors are down this way. Oh, that did not work out well. Oh well, we'll just walk normally. That hypertube cannon in particular is getting very difficult to use because of all the various stuff that's like immediately in this direction. So we'll just walk on down, pass all this stuff, and then make our way over. So we just keep on going. And it's then off to the right. Alright, so we go this way. And we're almost back there. So off we go. And here we are, basically. Just have to turn off the tracks and into the factory. So we slide across this way. And it's this row of constructors here, which is taking most of them. But we're going to have to rework this slightly, because currently this is set up across 12 machines when we can optimize it to be only 10. So we need to calculate how many casings there are. 42.966 plus 1,422.198 is 1465.164. 1465.164 divided by 10 just barely fits. Couldn't do by 9. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And those two machines go out. Okay. So actually, we need... So because we're summer slooping these, we need these to all be divided by 2. Divided by 2 is that. Now we paste those settings in. Actually, wait. We can do this even better then, can't we? Because I hadn't considered that. Because it's doubled, we can use even fewer. Alright, yeah, this is actually going to be quite efficient. So, if we... 146.516. That is... Oh, we need even more of those. 146.516 is doubled. And now we only need 5 of them. So I was thinking of the summer sloops in terms of having the resource demand, which is why I thought we needed 10. But actually, they double the resource output for the same resource demand, so we only need 5. So 293.032. 0.032 times 5 is our 1,465 number, which is what we were looking for. Alright, so now we just need to make this that. So the inputs are 219.774 times 5, which is less than 1,200, which means that we can feed all of this off of a single belt, which is pretty great. So we just need to take this out and make the 1 to 5 splitter properly. So this all comes apart. And now we just have the machines themselves. And let's see, we have to split these back a little bit because they're not being used, because we're gonna have to rebuild them later. So then all of that stuff goes out, and we get a 1 to 5 balancer just in somewhere where we have space, like back there. Hopefully this can just barely squeeze in. It's a bit rough, but it works. And then all of these attach across. And finally, we pop that into there. And this should be all correct. And I believe, so we aren't using this output, which shouldn't break anything. To just remove that one entirely. So now we just have a 3 to 2 balancer, basically, which doesn't quite work in the same way as a 3 to 2 balancer would normally work, but because they're not even, but it should be fine anyways. Alright, so now we need to work out the syncing of this. So let's see here. Let's get all those mergers out. Let's get all of those belts out. Oh, we missed one. Let's get all of those belts out. Just leave this space back here available. Okay, so we have really just slightly more than 1,200. So if we just take like this last one out and have it the only one disconnected, then that should just work. So that connects back to there. This can run all the way over to here because I'm too lazy to rebuild the sinks. And there we are. So now this can run, and it takes a whole lot less aluminum to do so. So yeah, now the total input here is, it's 3 to 4 instead of 3 to 2, so it is 219.774 times 5 is 1,100. Previously, this was like 2,100, 2,200 almost. So, hopefully, just cutting 1,000 demand off, hopefully that will do the trick. We can save a couple extra hundred by summer slooping this row, which would also require a lot of additional work to overclock that and everything. And it also wouldn't be nearly as effective because it's less resources going through more machines that take more summer sloops to double. But if we are desperate, it is an option. But hopefully we won't be desperate. I did the math previously, and we had like 6,000 aluminum input production. We have 6,000 aluminum ingot production total. This factory was supposed to take 3,000 of it, with a significant chunk going to the fixite trigons as well. And theoretically, that should have, I think, been almost enough. So if we cut 1,000 off of that, it should make a huge difference just in terms of the margin for error there. And then we might also get into the point where the train that just comes around here doesn't load things up fast enough. Because this is, let's see, so you're going 284, 288, 276, 253, 226. Alright, I don't know why these front couple are dramatically lower than the backs, but let's say that this is 280-ish. 280 times 5 is 1,400, which isn't enough, actually. So we might need to add another train onto this line. We're also going to have to check like what's going on with the aluminum production itself, because if there's anything wrong on that side, then that's also an issue. Alright, so now this is run out entirely, and all that is emptying down. So we still have, what, 30 seconds until that's done? Any train in sight? No, not currently. So yeah, that is... These guys are going to then stop producing. Oh, hang on, I just realized I might need to... Those are 293 output, which means these actually need to be Mark 4s to keep up. I was wondering why these were still outputting. So yeah, those need to be Mark 4s in order to output enough casings to keep up with their demand. Alright, it's been a while. It's not... The aluminum ingot resupply is not especially close. So that's not a good sign. Now, the next aluminum ingot resupply will go longer because it'll be the first one where these are all fully summer slooped. But even still, it's going to be a bit rough. Alright, so let's see here. So these are the all-clad sheet assemblers. They take 700, almost 720 aluminum ingots through 25 machines. So if we bring that down to 5 machines, that would be 10 summer sloops to get that. We could almost do it if we go out to grab even more. Alright, here's the train coming back, and it is not entirely filled. Alright, so the train bringing the aluminum ingots here isn't entirely filled. That's not a good sign, because that means that there isn't enough aluminum ingot production just raw in order to get this working. So we're going to have to head back over there and figure out what's wrong with the aluminum ingot production. And yeah, so I guess we will hop on this train, follow it over to the aluminum ingot production, and hopefully there's just some easy fix we can do. I doubt there will be, but you can always hope, right? That it's just like, oh, there's some belt which is too slow and we just upgrade that and it works. Or alternatively, that it's just like catching up on ingot production for some other thing, and once that is done, then we can get there. So yeah, the other big aluminum ingot demand is the fixite, what's it called? The fixite trigon production. So that's this road down here. So we could actually take a look at that and see if summer slooping that will save more aluminum than summer slooping the all-clad sheets. Alright, so we're just going to cruise past that for now to get to the aluminum output, which is right over this way. So the belts here, they look mostly full. Actually, some of these are pretty shaky. Some of them are pretty shaky. Their outgoing transfer rate is in the vicinity of 1,200 items per minute each. Alright, so first of all, what is going wrong here with this production? Okay, it's the whole water situation again. And this is one of the ones which is meant to be receiving fresh water too. Which makes it somewhat inexplicable how this could possibly be having problems. And now that I'm looking at it, it's magically fixed itself temporarily. Love that. Real cool. Alright, so let's head over here. These guys are also... yeah, so the whole system just doesn't quite have enough water. It's close, but not quite there. Which is annoying. Alright, now we're over by the fixite. So we can... yeah, let's just check this out here. So, how much aluminum ingots are going through this? 170 per belt, and there are so many belts. Okay. So what about back at this end? That's 666 per belt times 4, which should be like 2,000. It's 2,664. Yeah, that's a lot. So let's see here. Then these machines, they take 2 each to double. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 of them. Right, so there's 24 machines taking that times 24. Yeah, that math checks out. Okay, so if we were to split this down, it would be 24 divided by 2.5 divided by 2. So we could get this also down to just 5 machines in theory, which would take half the aluminum, and that sure would be something. And the other alternative would be summer slooping manufacturers, but that would mess with all the ratios for everything. So yeah, let's do that for this. So we have... okay, that is actually going to require changing a lot of stuff in here. Now the good news is it looks like this all goes under one thing. So this is 27.777 times 24 is 666. So yeah, all of this goes onto one single belt of output. So that side is easy. The input side is the complicated part. So we need to Well, first of all, we need 3 more summer sloops, annoyingly. Are there... Okay, there are some in this general area. It's not completely empty. So back to summer sloop hunting we go, I guess. We need 3 more, and then we need to start redesigning the factory. Where... How is that summer... Is it... It's got to be up on this... How is there a summer sloop in here? Which is visible from up here, but not visible from down there. Alright, can I just... Okay, it is over this way. I don't know why that seemed like it was super high altitude when it definitely wasn't. Alright, so let's drop down. And now that we're safely on the ground, we can swap back to the jetpack, which we had almost used all the fuel of. Oh wait, here it is. It's literally right in front of me. Okay, so we pick that up. That is 1 summer sloop down, 2 to go. So 2 more summer sloops to go before we can do this. And once we get that in, we should have plenty of aluminum for everything we need, and it'll just be a matter of like physically getting trains loaded up and moving fast enough at that point. Alright. Where are these summer sloops? There's gotta be some in this area, right? There's 5 there, there's 5 up north. Then we're entering a bit of a dead zone where I don't have intel. Alright, but there's 8 up this way. So let's go up this way. Hey, look, a hard drive. I assume this is one I've already grabbed. Yes, it is. It's always safe to assume that hard drives are ones I've already grabbed since I've done a lot of hard drive hunting. Alright. Summer sloops. Where are the summer sloops? At some point I need to just do this like I do the hard drives and just have a map, the interactive map that keeps track of like where all the ones I've grabbed are, so that I can just get all the ones that I've missed. Because it's very, very difficult to find all the summer sloops just doing it like this. Having more radar towers would help, like, sort of triangulate positions. That would require placing more radar towers, which would require running power lines everywhere. And it would also require a lot of thinking and, like, staring at the map. Trying to figure out, you know, it's in this radar tower, but not that one, which means it must be in this sliver. You could do that sort of thing. And it works, but it is somewhat annoying to do. Alright, there we go. Now we are back up to 10 summer sloops, which is enough for the job. So now we have this factory here conveniently, so we can use this to get back up to ground level. Sorry, what factory even is this? Modular engines, maybe? Who can say? Okay, we are back. Okay, this is fused frames. Now, we shouldn't have gone that far off, right? Or we might have, actually. We might have... Yeah, we need to head way back south. And in fact, are we like close to the center? Where are we? Yeah, the hub is right over this way, a little bit to the east. So let's head that way and use the hypertube cannon. Hopefully don't mess it up this time. Why am I walking instead of just respawning there? Who knows? But it's weird to respawn to save like 5 seconds. It's different if you're respawning to save like minutes. That's not what but we're close enough that we wouldn't be. Alright, so now we're back over here. Go back to jetpack. And off we go. We gotta dodge that train. And then head back down this way. Alright. Now we are here. And is this... Let's see, where is this? I feel like this is the wrong factory. Yeah, okay, this is the neuroquantum processor factory. That's not quite where I want to be. I'm going to be a little bit further west at the Fixite Trigon factory, which is this giant row of converters up here. Okay, so... And the bad news is that we... Wait, is this... No, this is time crystals. What the... How have I gotten so completely turned around? Where's the Fixite Trigon factory? How have I messed this up this badly? So that's neuroquantum processors. Oh, the aluminum is along the west coast. I don't know why I always think the aluminum is south. It's just in completely the wrong direction. Alright, so we head over this way. That train would have been great for us to catch, but it's too late now. Okay, so this giant row of converters is the one we're looking for. Alright, so now we wind up here. And here we are. Okay, so step one, we have to get the machines set up and make sure that we're not like breaking something with the amount of resource input or anything. Oh, and these have two... These also have reanimated SAM inputs, which is a whole separate thing. Okay, so we need to get up to 666-ish, which means we do that. We overclock, and you need to be this divided by 10, I believe. No, wrong. That divided by 10, surely. Yes, so that should be correct. So we get 5 of these together at 133.3 times 5 gives us the number that we're looking for. So we paste this across to the first 5, like so. And that's not going to cause crazy power stuff. No, even like the couple thousand megawatts of these is not... It's still relatively small compared to the amount of power we generate. So now these first 5 are producing everything that we need. So we then need to get the inputs balanced across them. So this is 266 each. We have these belts of 600. That divided by that is like 2.5. That makes perfect sense. So each of these belts can power 2.5 of these, which means we just need 2 of these belts. Okay. So we need to arrange this like we have a group of 2, a 0.5, and then a group of 2. Right, so this is the first one which we aren't going to be using. Alright, yeah, this is going to be all kinds of funky, just like redesigning this in this way, but let's just start by dismantling all the belts, because it's way easier to design something when there isn't an incorrect design sitting there staring in your face. So this all goes out. So we need one of the belts to feed these 2 and then this one, which if we split it evenly into thirds won't work. We need to split it so that one of the outputs gets half of the other 2, which, let's see here. So we start with this, right? So that and Mark III belt is just barely enough for this purpose. So then we need to get a situation where this gets 2/3 and that gets 1/3, I think, right? So we then have a merger there and a splitter, and the splitter sends 2/3 forwards that way and 1/3 over to this way. Oh wait, but not quite like that, because it needs to merge up with the other one, which is doing the same thing. So that all goes in like that, and then we get the same thing for these 2. So we get a splitter followed by a merger followed by a splitter, and then this sends 2/3 forwards to there, which then splits evenly across those 2. Okay, so we put 600 some into there, right? 666 point something, whatever. Immediately, that gets split into thirds. So we have 222 there, 444 this way. That's wrong. That's not right. How did we do this? Each of these individually needs to be twice this, which means that this needs to be like a quarter. So the overall belt coming in here is the overall belt coming in here is 5 points. We need to send 2 points there, 2 points there, 1 point there. Which means this is actually, yeah, so this is actually like a 1 to 5. So currently this is like a 1 to 6, right? Now if we just take that, pop you in there, and have you merge up. No, wait, that needs to be a splitter, not a merger. That was just the wrong one. So then that goes like that, and that, and that. So we have 666 going into here. Then 222 going that way. No, we need this to loop back, actually, which we should be able to do. So we have 666 going in this way. Then we split that into sixths, or we split it into thirds technically. Yes, we split it into sixths. 1/6 goes back to increase the overall rate, which means we now have fifths. 1/5 goes there, the rest of the fifths go that way. And this should work if the belts are fast enough. And I have no idea what the limit on this sort of system is for Mark 5s. So we're just going to make it Mark 6s, and then past this point it's all going to be split up. But yeah, so past this point it shouldn't matter, but we're just going to keep it that way for consistency. And yeah, let's just have that be Mark 6 all the way through. And then we need to do the same thing over here. So we get another merger back that way. This one splits into that way. That goes forwards. These belts all get upgraded. And that belt gets upgraded. And then, yeah, we might as well just be consistent at that point. Use Mark 6 belts all the way through, and we should be good. So now we just take you, run you along into there, take you, run you along forwards a bit more, and then into there. Then dismantle that old belt. And so that should do it, right? Assuming that these belts are correct in what they say they are, which is 666 each. And alright, now we can just chop those belts out so we don't use any of those machines back there. And now we just have the reanimated Sam to work with, which, let's see here. Is the reanimated Sam supply actually an issue? So it needs to be 133 per minute, which means we need to upgrade these. So this needs to be 270. Yeah, so we need to upgrade all of these belts to accommodate the faster speed. So that's the first two. Then, wait, why are we doing it like this? No, we need to just tear it out and resplit it again, which again should only require like half of the input. So it should be fine. So all of this stuff goes out, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Alright, so these are all in, and we're just going to get rid of these random little mini belts here. Then we are going to make sure that these all get to be Mark 3s, which they need to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the 6th one, which we're just going to dismantle so that it doesn't get confusing. And we just need to get one of these belts into a 1 to 5 splitter, I think. That should be all we need to do. So we just take all that stuff out, and we actually will cut these back a little bit further. 1 to 5 balancer, a lot easier because we only got one belt for this stage, because we had to split it across 2 belts for the previous one. So then we need this to be... like in a way where I can access all the outputs, which I wanted to have it in that way just for convenience purpose, but it doesn't quite fit. So we have to put it in like here somewhere. And now we just connect all of these belts up. And that one goes all the way across to there. And now we just grab this belt, bring you into the splitter. And now we are almost done. We just have to upgrade the top half of this. Like so. And that should be that. That should be all of our fixite demand sorted out. Now let's clear some of this junk out of our inventory because it's starting to get real full. And there we go. Okay, now we need to get these outputs boosted to Mark 3s. Like that. And we should just be back to functional again. So that's going to make all of its fixite, and then it'll go through these to make the trigons, and then we should be all cleared from that point forwards. And we're just going to leave those in there just because it's funny. Okay, so why is it that this belt is flowing smoothly through while this belt isn't? This belt is all backlogged. Possibly just because it has this aluminum in it to begin with. So let's clear that stuff out. Leave the space. So that is going. And these ones over here, that's 52%. This one is showing 51%, but it looks good. Okay, yeah, so let's get this excess aluminum out of these machines as well, just so that it can stay nice and stable. And oh, I know what happened. I forgot to have you connected across. That's important. So now this is getting all of its stuff. Let's get these ones cleared back down again. And these ones are set up properly. Alright, so I think we're all good now. So now this central one is getting enough aluminum to run. And it's got a bunch of... That one's got a bunch of spare reanimated SAM, unlike all the others, which are a bit low on it. So let's just take that out so that it works properly. And I think we're all set up now. I think we should be all clear. And that should be everything that we need to do on this front. So now the question becomes, like, how long will it take for the decreased aluminum demand to trickle back to a meaningful effect at the other factory? And the answer is probably quite a while. But it should be in there now. And so yeah, that saved a bunch of aluminum, which is pretty cool. So we've saved like 2,000 some aluminum now, which is enough to entirely run the entire original setup that we were doing. Like the casings, it was originally 2,200 aluminum. We've probably saved right around 2,200 aluminum with these upgrades. So that's pretty cool. Now, it looks like we're still having a bit of trouble getting enough aluminum through. So this was the nuclear pasta aluminum, which I think is a lot less frequent of a traveler. So this fixed site aluminum train here, it should stay in the station for longer, right? Because it's using less aluminum now. So either this one or the next one, that will happen. And that will be cool. Then back over here at the aluminum side, then we just have to let this build up. It's sending all of that stuff through as usual. We're still looking at like 1,300 a minute each, except for this front one, which is only 1,200 a minute for some reason. Don't know why that is. Possibly some weird stuff with like one of the less common ones that shows up, which doesn't use that input as much for some reason. Or it could just be that like the somewhat inconsistent output on these shows up in that one more than the others. Alright, here's the plutonium. So the plutonium goes through, and it's gonna get not quite full supply. Alright, the fixed site aluminum is making its way back, and it's got stuff in most of its boxes, which means it's going to have less demand than usual, although it's going to be sort of inconsistent demand, which isn't great. I thought that was perfectly balanced, but maybe the changing it the way that I did messed with that somehow. See, how much stuff is there? There's like 1,000 in each of those, between 1,000 and 600, except for the front one, which is completely empty. Alright, so this should then equate to it just taking less out of the input. So that hopefully will help. And there we go. All that stuff is getting emptied out. The bauxite trains are doing their thing as well. Must not forget the insane amount of bauxite that goes into keeping this thing running. There we go. That's that factory gone, and for some reason the front row got relatively little. Why did that happen? Doesn't look like any huge difference was made. Alright, now the NQP aluminum train is here in just like the worst possible timing, because all these boxes are going to be mostly empty now because a train just came through seconds ago. I wonder if we set you to wait until you're full. Probably not, right? That would probably be crazy, just because you're not that urgent. It would mess with all the other things that take the aluminum. We just need to have enough aluminum output that it isn't a problem, basically. And we really do look like we're very, very close to the 6,000 aluminum per minute ideal. Which means, like, on average, this should backlog on average, right? There should be no doubt that we're producing more aluminum than we're using now that we've chopped 2,000 off of the demand. That's literally a third of the total production that we don't need anymore. So then it'll just be a question of whether we can physically get stuff through the boxes fast enough, which we might not be able to be honest. But if we can't, then we would just need to set up like a secondary train station. So if the number of trains stopping here and this is the limiting factor, then we need to set up a second train station. I don't think we'll need to do that. I think we might just need to add a second train on the neural quantum processor line. But also, I think it's entirely possible that we'll need to do nothing at all, and this is hopefully just a situation where it's going to take a little bit for buffers to fill, and then we'll be all clear. So this is filling up again. And our aluminum train over here, are you still running continually? Fixite aluminum. Yes, you are. But you are making progress. Yeah, most of these are not really taking much of anything. It's just this one. I don't understand how this is so imbalanced. Like, is this demanding more? So that's showing 177 each. No, oh, wait, I just realized. These guys are backed by sinks. Okay, so that's something we need to do. Just turn off that sink. Turn off that sink. That actually decreases the amount of aluminum that we use. And that is going to be the thing that saves us our resources in the long run. And we should be able to do the same thing over here with one of these guys. So, yeah, you don't need to be doing all that. So that can get shut off so that the reanimated SAM demand will also decrease in case we need more of that at some point for whatever reason. Alright, so now this should drop down to half of what it was. And then in a couple cycles of that train looping around, that should start making a meaningful difference over here. It won't be for quite a bit. So let's see here. This one, can we just get throughput monitors on these to make sure that that's not the problem? It is entirely possible that one of these is just less consistent than the others. Alright, there we go. So all of those have their monitors on. And we're just going to have to give them some time to calculate. Oh boy, it's done this glitch again. That's fun. So the NQP aluminum is back and seemingly getting a much better delivery this time through. Okay, so let's see here. This is 1070. This one is straight 1200. 1180. 1100, 1120. So this one might be a little bit lower than the others, but it's not like a crazy amount. I guess if we were super borderline on production, it might have been enough to make the difference. But yeah, it's crazy that this one in particular is perfect. And all the rest of these are not. Yeah, I mean, I could spend like 1,000 years trying to get the aluminum supply to line up perfectly, and it's not going to happen. But what I need is, I just need this to all trickle through until it stops demanding quite so much, and we get enough over at the neural quantum processor factory. So that one, for some reason, I don't know why this first one is showing so much dramatically lower. Like, even if there were a difference, there should be no possible way for this to output 1780 items per minute. That's just obviously not correct. It should be slightly lower than 1200 per minute for all of them. no matter what, because that's just how math works. We're putting 1200 in, we're taking every single bit out. That gets us 1200. So really this first one is like much closer to being accurate. It's still slightly over what it should be, but who knows why that's happening. Okay, and this one, which had previously been perfect, isn't actually 100% perfect. Although now this one is. So that's a thing. Okay, now how is this all going? We've got fixite aluminum coming back again. It should get a full train's worth, right? Yeah, I mean, if not, then like 99% of one. And that should get it nice and satisfied. The rest of these are all like weirdly exactly at 1200. I'm not sure how that happened. But so this should get a full train of output. And then the plutonium aluminum is following directly behind it, but you have a bunch as well. Actually, you might be the culprit. It's entirely possible that the plutonium doesn't balance properly, and you're taking more aluminum out of the first box than the later four. That could totally be the case. And again, it's not really a huge deal if that happens, but it is like kind of annoying, because you're gonna not get quite as much in the first box this time around because of when you decided to show up. And so now we're loading these guys up again. It doesn't look like the buffer chests are having difficulty getting aluminum out. So that is one of the things, is like if there are enough trains stopping here that we spend like more than half the time with the train in the station, then these can't get it through fast enough, and this accumulates permanently without it actually getting to the train station. Doesn't seem to be happening here. We seem to be doing relatively fine on that front, at least. So this is going, and now we should definitely be starting to get to the point where this is going to be demanding a whole lot less aluminum. Because, like, I mean, surely that is all, yes. So now all of these, including the first train car, have some excess in them after their visit, which means that it's going to take less next time around, and that will just keep happening until it reaches the proper amount that it wants to be taking. We have a train stopped there, which is probably something that wants aluminum, because that's what empty trains stopped at that spot generally means. Okay, nuclear pasta aluminum is here. I don't know how much aluminum nuclear pasta takes, but it's apparently a non-trivial amount, considering it's showed up a couple of times while I've been standing here staring at this. So there we go, we're sending that stuff out, and then we're going to have to wait for the neuroquantum processors to get basically nothing, and then the fixite aluminum to come right back after those and also get basically nothing, probably. Alright, so the oil supply is back. So that seems to still be going just fine. And so this is where we start to run into the question of, like, can we get stuff out of these boxes fast enough? It seems like the answer is yes, at least for that box. Or at least very, very close to it. So that's all good. And it's just sort of bad luck of the draw of when it showed up. But if we are able to get these boxes completely emptied every time, then it shouldn't it should eventually stop mattering necessarily when exactly the trains show up. Alright, fixite aluminum is back. And it's got its 300 aluminum in there. Yeah, this, where we've just had 3 trains back to back with no breaks, is when this might have an issue. Because we're only net outputting 1200 per second from these boxes, because we're inputting 1200 per second as well. But it looks like we are getting there. So yeah, even with 3 consecutive back-to-back trains, we are able to empty out, frankly, with plenty of time to spare. Now, these trains here aren't going to be getting a huge amount of aluminum, but hopefully we'll have better alignment in the future. Okay, so let's ban that guy real quick. And now that train is out. And now we should hopefully have a bit of time to build up aluminum in here. So that is going to empty out. And we've got some random unneeded trains going through there. The fixite aluminum train hasn't even made it out of the station yet. We've got more bauxite supply going in. So this is 1143, 1284, 1395, 1438, 1339. So those are all still a little higher than they should be, but not by a huge amount. Okay, this one has dropped all the way down to like 900 some. Is there like actually just a serious issue with this? I mean, it all looks close to fine. Let's go check this yellow guy down here, because you were yellow for a fair amount of time. Even you are like 96%. And you weren't getting enough water, which, let's see here. You also weren't getting enough water. And that's probably just all boils down to some of these direct inputs which aren't getting enough water through. Which I still don't understand how exactly that is happening. Because this pipe should be containing 600 water a minute. But instead it's only containing like 300 water a minute at low points. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't want to spend more time bashing my head against the wall of fluid physics trying to fix that. If anything, I'll just like add more water into the system, bring another pipe up, and distribute it to some of those guys that need help with the fresh water. Alright, so that is another train out. And how much did you get? You were almost full. Alright, yeah, I mean, this is... There's only so much that we can achieve by just standing here staring at this. So let's do that stupid water fix. So, let's see here. Some of these guys, though, actually have more concerning problems. Like these ones, which are at 90% because there's not enough an alumina solution, but that is probably a byproduct of these guys. So yeah, let's just grab a pipeline, bring you back this way. So Surface is too uneven. Yeah, whatever. Just place it in a way where it isn't too uneven. So that pipeline will supply that one with extra water. This one also needs extra water. So you can get supplied by this pipeline. And that comes back to here. Alright, so now we just have to get this down. So you go down through floor holes like that. And then we just have to bring these pipes all the way down. And down they go. So yeah, all we're going to do is just get more water attached up to this system so that we can just brute force whatever the problem is. And yeah, I think we want these to be separate just because combining things together when it comes to water pipes is a big no-no. It does mean a bit of extra work, but we'll just have to deal with that. So this should hopefully give us like several hundred more aluminum per second just for basically free, just by fixing the inefficiencies in the current system. 95% efficient when you're looking at 6,000 aluminum. I mean, that 5% is still a significant chunk of aluminum that we're talking about there. So these pipes, then they go down, and they go down, and then we're going to have to connect them up to pumps and everything, and that's going to be fun. Alright, so down we go. And down we go. Alright, just keep on moving. Alright, now we are at ground level, so these just then come down around this way. Like that. And they move forwards. So those get approximately to the beach. And then we give them some water extractors. And I can't help but notice that some of the water extractors we already have aren't even bothering to run. Alright, so let's get those just connected in. This is just to top it off. So it shouldn't need to be anything too crazy, right? Just doing like one overclocked water extractor each should be plenty for what we need this for. So then we start powering up the pumps. So that needs to be upgraded. Needs to bring it back to there. And now we just keep going. And we leave them a little bit of wiggle room because sometimes where it thinks the maximum height is and where the maximum height actually is are sometimes two different things. Not always, but enough that it can cause failures. Alright, so those are powered. Now we go up a bit again, leave a little bit of wiggle room. Now, I just need to find these nodes here on the wall to keep bringing that stuff up. And we do have enough water in the pipes to do this, so that's good. We go up another level all the way up to there and find another power line here. Let's expand that out to a second node and get those powered up. Alright, so then we go up to here and we just keep on cooking along like this. So we get an additional node off of that, which we use to power those two. And we just keep on going. And hopefully doing this will also just like buy time until the summer sloop fixes have had time to had an effect. Alright, so we need more power, which is weirdly hard to find. And this just keeps on going up. So now we bring this all the way over to this way, where it's not entirely sure where the next stage up is, but it's definitely past this point because we have water in these pipes here. So let's get those guys in and just get them powered up based on that random power line that's available. Alright, now we go up again and we should be in the last little stretch here. So we take that power line, connect some of these guys up. And this one is running, this one isn't. Is that just because this one is a little far behind on the water production? Yeah, that seems to be the case. Alright, so let's then go up, get this one built in first, just in case that makes a slight difference. Then we just keep going, get more power lines, get those power lines to connect across. Did this one end up getting built backwards? It looks like this one is backwards. I don't trust it. We definitely need to make sure that they are pumping upwards. And, okay, yeah, no, that is just what it looks like for whatever reason. Alright, and now we're getting water up through this. And that is pumping as well. And we get the pumps there. And they get powered. This might be the last batch. No, we have one more batch up here, apparently. And then this will certainly be the last batch. I mean, these don't even need to be... They don't even need to be Mark IIs, realistically. But we'll have them be Mark IIs, just in case. Alright, so that goes up. And now we have even more water in the system, so that these guys, which are supposed to be completely saturated on water, should now actually be completely saturated on water supply. And just to confirm, this one... Oh, no, this one here we don't want, I think. Right, so this one is fed from here, which goes back to there, which, yeah, we don't want to be pumping extra water into that, because that is getting excess water from the rest of the system. So now that is back up and running again. And so instead we can take this extra pipe and just pop you into you, I guess. Actually, just make sure that we're sending it in to the opposite side. So you go into that. And that should ensure that this is all clear, which it was, but now we know for certain. And this one is now going as well. So hopefully that will get that all solved. Now we can pop up to here. And it'll be a while before that trickles through. But we can look at these, and they all have like a single train's worth built up, which is not enough. I've just noticed that this one is like slightly closer in than these ones. That's fine. It doesn't matter, and it's probably actually necessary for this to curve properly. Also, I don't like this stupid visual glitch here. It's pretty gross looking. Alright, so the fixite aluminum is coming back around, and it's got now a significant amount of aluminum in each of its boxes. So that is good. Of course, it manages to once again show up mere moments before the NQP aluminum does. But that should... I mean, eventually we're just going to need to have enough stuff in here that isn't a problem when it happens. So that is all going through now. This one over here is kind of crashing. You're all the way down to like 800 on average, and even lower as of like recently. But you are going back up. So yeah, that's kind of gross. I don't like that at all. But hopefully our new water supply just solves that problem. And so this is just petroleum coke, which really is nothing to worry about at this point. So this machine is back up to the mid 80%. So now let's go over here to see what's wrong with these guys. Alright, we're looking fine over here. So you just don't have enough alumina solution because these guys don't have enough water. And so hopefully the water supply will be improved based on that change that I made, keeping these ones running continually. Because they're still so far behind that they're only showing like 80-ish% when they're going to start showing 100% soon. So that should all work out in the end. And this is back up to the thousands. So no big worries there. The outputs sure are outputting. And it's just kind of insane, the sheer quantity of aluminum that we need. Like, there's just so much going through, and it's only barely keeping up, if that. So this aluminum, we did get those sinks in, right? So this is successfully demanding less, although it's... Okay, for some reason, it's just gotten kind of inconsistent. Like, why is this one 0? Oh, right, because these just feed into this whole system, which is one of the ones that we turned off. That's why. Alright, so yeah, that's fine. And then all the rest of these batches are showing like 130 something. And we have 133 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is like 1300, which is correct. So it's still a massive aluminum sink. That's just not going to change because of just how many trigons we need. There's nothing we can do about that, even with summer sloops. I mean, I guess technically we could like summer sloop that entire batch over there and then be absolutely chillin'. Just divide it in half again. But that would require so many summer sloops, it would not be funny. It just would be completely impractical to do that, basically. Alright, so there is the fixite aluminum train, and it is getting loaded back up, and it should be mostly empty now, or mostly full now, so it shouldn't be demanding that much. So off it goes, and yeah, so now we are starting to get somewhere with this filling up over time. So we have, that train is left, and we're basically instantly ready to fill up another. So that is that. And if we can get to the point where these boxes are filling up with excess, then we'll definitely be cooking. And I don't see immediately any more trains coming, so that might actually happen. Oh no, plutonium aluminum is on its way. So that's going to take a bunch, and then hopefully be fine, because it's going to be getting a full set. Yeah, I mean, these boxes are, like, very close to just filling. Once these boxes fill, then these buffer chests get to go into their final form and actually start doing even extra buffering. So this has a couple thousand in all of them. And this first one is the biggest demand, as usual. Also, the lowest supply, as usual. Which kind of sucks, but the rest of these are all showing 1200 all at once now. Is this going up by any chance? Okay, so this last one would be the last one to be affected by any fixes. And these ones are also occasionally getting spikes. Alright, so that was just a fluke. Got it. Got a little bit excited for a second, but nope. Just a fluke. Alright, so that train is out. And again, even as that one leaves, we already have enough in this to fill another one. I think, right? Trains are 4. Yeah, trains are 4 rows. And we already have 1, 2, 3, 4-ish rows, split up sort of weirdly. So I think that is a good sign that the aluminum situation is mostly fixed. I guess the neural quantum processors might just take all of it, and then we might have to send a second NQP train. Thermal propulsion rockets aluminum. Boy, it's been... I haven't seen those all stream, which means this must be super irregular, and it's getting a full load up. So it should continue to be solid. Okay, now all of these... Okay, the neural quantum processor train manages to show up at the worst possible time again. Such is life. It's still going to get a decent chunk. And this one back here is super far behind compared to the rest of these. Like, let's see, this one has like almost 2 full rows. This one doesn't even have 1 full row in the buffer chest. And I think some of these are doing even better. This one almost 3 full rows. Alright, so thermal propulsion rockets are done. And now this is depositing all this stuff. It's going as fast as it can, but it has been stable at 1,200 a minute for a while now, actually, which is quite encouraging. So this isn't... It's going to get, like, just barely short of a full car in the front row. The rest of them should be full, just barely. And then the fixite aluminum comes immediately after. Yeah, that thermal propulsion rocket train did sort of mess with the whole rhythm, but if it's going to be super rare, then I'm not worried about it. Alright, so that is all going. And let's see, you got 2422 and like 3170 and all the rest of them. So yeah, you got like an almost full train. That's pretty good, right? And now the fixite aluminum shouldn't be requesting much at all, just a single row in the front one, and actually just about a single row in all of them. So that's good. That means that this one at least has balanced out its demand to be more even. Alright, so that is all going. There's a massive gaps on the belts here. A lot greater than usual, for whatever reason. Alright, so I think this is probably fine. Like, it feels like this is working, yeah? So these are now going to have time to get all these buffers down and into the train stop. And hopefully just fill the entire thing up. So I think we're doing well now. And I think adding that extra water in, it feels like it's improved it a little bit. So this is now... Okay, now we have too much aluminum. So now we have too much alumina solution there, potentially. Okay, so now we're hitting the inverse problem, which might brick the entire factory. Hopefully it won't. It might turn out that being just a little bit shy on water supply is actually necessary to keep this running because of how it's been laid out, basically. But hopefully that isn't the case. Alright, so we are getting all these through. We have full trains prepared in all but this one. Yeah, I wonder if we need to like balance the inputs or if it is just an output problem. The throughput monitors, unfortunately, they don't have a long enough window that to be actually useful. Like, they can tell you if it's been at 100% in the short term, but like, if we were to look at this, it would seem like it was near 100%. But that's just because it's at a portion where it is. I wish I could set the throughput monitors to like store for the past hour or something. That would be cool. If they were able to store the information over like a configurable time period, that would help a lot. It would make them way more useful than they are. Not that they're useless, they're just sort of niche. They can give you a general gist of it, and not much more than that. Alright, so you ended up down at like 16 to 1700 in all of those. So you're going to get fully loaded up with no problems. And then we are just going to keep filling it up. All of these, they're all within 50 basically all the time now. So that's good. If this breaks again because too much water, I'm going to be real sad. But hopefully it just doesn't do that. Hopefully it just doesn't do that and we can just be happy and have it all work. Alright, so this is even this one, which is the highest demand one, already has enough for a full train as the previous train is leaving. So that is all looking quite solid. Yeah, I think we're just about at the point where we kind of have to stop looking at this side of things now. Like, this is going to work most of the time and be fine. And unless something catastrophic happens which causes it to get completely bricked, it's just going to keep looking like this, right? It's just going to keep oscillating depending on when exactly the trains show up and how much is left in here when they do. But even this one, so even this one is about to have extra buffers for more than the freight platform storage. And that, okay, is not quite going to happen because we have the NQP aluminum train. But we're just going to hop on this train. It's going to get a full cargo, and then we're just going to see what happens. We're just going to see what's going on at the other side of this. Okay, let's get the coffee cup back in my hand. That's more fun than the scanning for summer sloops, which are simply never going to exist this high up. Alright. So this gets all of its stuff. And now we go. So we go back to the factory, which we've been trying to prepare this whole session. And we get our fun little honk, and we're off. So we just cruise through this. Oh, that is a thing. We need to get out of the way of that and still land on the train so that we can continue to ride it. The hover pack makes maneuvering around on top of the trains kind of confusing because it's stationary relative to like the tracks and not the train. So if you start hovering, you suddenly lose a bunch of speed. Alright, so this train, just confirm, yep, we've got plenty of cargo in here to deliver a full supply. Now, if this all works out and this happens to just already have some aluminum left over at the destination by the time this gets there, then that would be great, and we can say that we fixed the aluminum shortage. Otherwise, who knows? We'll have to do something. We'll have to potentially think about some more stuff. And so assuming that there isn't spare aluminum there when we arrive, then one possibility is because I believe the previous version of this train that delivered there wasn't full. So it could be that full trains just work. So we're going to have to wait for like this to receive 2 full trains in a row before we can judge whether that'll be the case or not. So there's nothing in there. But, okay, wait. If we drop down here, there's aluminum in here, and we're getting another full cargo. There's actually a lot of aluminum in here. I mean, relatively speaking. This box has 3 stacks. That's pretty great. So, yeah, I mean, I think that will work. So we haven't run out of aluminum from the previous run, and we already have a new run of aluminum. Which basically means that we're good. Because I think the previous delivery wasn't even full. So yeah, now this should just be completely solid. And that's all going well. Alright, so now apparently we have enough aluminum supplies for everything here. So what else do we do next? So we had all of this. Oh, right, we had the incredibly nightmarish cursed balancer set up somewhere over here. What was I doing with this? This was for the all-clad sheets, and there's currently nothing on this. Nothing at all. Why is that? That would be because I never configured this. Alright, write any. Center overflow. So, now all the all-clad sheet production, which seems to be going well, comes down here. Now, some of it just goes over there to be normal. And the rest of it goes over there to be completely unhinged. So the all-clad sheets, we have, I believe this is meant to be 77.77. Right, so this is the setup which I'm fairly certain that needs to be that way. So this is the cursed setup, which gives almost nothing through. Like the 0.011 or something items per minute through this system. Gosh, I really was just in an unhinged mood when I designed that, huh? And then this provides the 77.7 whatevers, which we then add that to, and God, I was going to say, like, we need to wait for something to get through here to see if it works. That could literally take hours. So let's see here. If this is... it's literally going to be like one item going through every several hours. Let's do the math, actually. 0.011 per minute is how much is going through that. Times 60 is 0.66 per hour. So we get two of these through every 3 hours of gameplay. Wonderful. I'm so glad I spent the effort doing that instead of just having it be 77.777 through here. Instead, it would have made no discernible difference, but the insanity is worth it because it's funny. And this all goes down to batteries, which we can't even use immediately. Okay. So this all goes down to batteries, which we can't use immediately, which means we just need to sync this. I think... so we put a sync there, smart splitter there, and then that goes through. The sync needs to be powered, which we've got power lines over this way. So let's do that. And this needs to be sped up to be fast enough. Alright, so this is working, basically. There's actually just no way to verify if this one is working. It's literally just, you have to be here once in a blue moon to see one item go through. But I mean, it should be all connected up, right? It looks all connected up. So that's probably fine. Alright, so then this is currently showing 120 a minute, which is certainly incorrect. It could be that it just needs to stabilize down, or it could be that I messed something up in here. So here we have 120. And I assume that this is also going to be 120, yes. So this is 120 here. We split it into 40, 40, and 40. So we have, what, 80 there, 20 goes back. So this is 100. Then we split that 100 into what looks like thirds. So that's 33 that way, 33 that way, 33 that way. then this one, which is a third, then splits down into ninths, sends 2 of them back, 1 of them forwards. So we have 3 ninths, 3 ninths, 1 ninth. That's 7 ninths of 100. So yes, this should be 77-ish, and the math has indeed averaged out on the throughput monitor. So we have that now. So that's something, I guess. And then we need, I guess we need the rest of this to be an overflow output to go through to the heatsink production, which we need to do some wacky splitting with the copper sheets. Why did I even get started on this? Like, there's so much extra stuff that I needed to do here. I don't know why I decided this would be a good way to break into this factory, but I mean, I guess we're gonna have to do it at some point, so I guess it's as good a time as any. So now we have to do some cursed splitting on the copper sheets as well. So first we get that out. Let's pop a sign on you, which will say, whatever it is supposed to be. All clad sheets, and you are theoretically 639.488 per minute. Okay, now that we have that, we need to do a nightmarish splitting situation with the copper sheets to get those all functional. And first we have to remember where we left the copper sheets. So that is the copper for the all-clad sheets. That's not what we're looking for. This is all other random junk. That's not what we're looking for. Let's just stop by these boxes, actually. Just that's mostly full. That one is completely full. Okay, so yeah, it's not quite evenly distributed, but it's fine. We don't need nearly as much anymore, so it's less urgent to be perfect. Alright, so here we have our copper ingots. And how do we get this splitting set up? Oh, we did some weird stuff to get the splitting set up right. Yeah, so this is the copper sheets, 21.6 per minute each. And we have a whole giant row of 6 to 700-ish. Yeah, like 690, I would say. 692, maybe. Somewhere in that ballpark. And all of these are going out. This is showing at 100%, so that's good. Alright, so we need to split the copper sheets out into a row for the heat sinks and a row for the circuit boards. 383.691 versus 309.368. So neither of those are what we would call ideal. So let's figure out, let's see, so 383.691 is one of the options. Now, if we subtract 383.6 repeating, then we have 0.025, and that's actually like a pretty achievable number, I would say. And again, it's absolute madness to try to be this precise with our balancing. But whatever. So now we need to get 383.666. So let's get signs out to just try to keep track of what we're doing. So we start with 383.691, and then we split that to 383.666 plus 0.025, right? That's what it wound up being, yes. And oh wait, no, technically that's wrong. So technically that's 0.666, not 0.6 repeating, which is easier to get, right? So that this would technically be slightly off. Do I want to go all the way down to that? Yeah, probably. All right. So the other option, we have our 1 to 10 splitter now, right? That we can just stack. We can just stack that 3 times and get 383 plus 0.691. And then 0.691, we just have to get that number and then divide it by 1,000. This is such a... I don't know why I care this much about it, but it's just kind of fun and silly to do this level of precision. Alright, so that then becomes 0.691 becomes 691 times 1 over 1,000. So if we can get 383 and 691, then we win. So 383 plus, I don't know why I'm adding them together, but it's probably not the play. So now we have to get 383, which, okay, so 480 is trivial. So we have 480 minus 383 is 97. Is 97 easy to get? If we get 100, we take 3 off. That's sort of terrible. That's just going down so many rabbit holes all at once. So what if we go with 383 minus 270 is 113, which is also kind of miserable. Okay, what about 383 divided by 3? That's not anything. Divided by 2, not anything either. 4, 5, is this a prime number? Bro, why is this a prime number? 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14. Yeah, I mean, it's not divisible by 3 or 9. It's not divisible by 11 or 12 or 13 or 14. Okay, wait. This is 25.533 is something. So we just need to, like, get this to something manageable. Divided by 4, that's no good. 76.6. I feel like I've seen 76.6 before, and it wasn't that bad. So, like, maybe that's the trick. I don't like dividing by 5, but if it works, it works. 76.6 is 60 plus 16.6. No, that's just going down another trillion rabbit holes. Let's do the first solution. So we have 383 can get converted to 480 minus 97. And then, so then we just have to work out 97, which is 100 minus 3. And, okay, 97 is 100 minus 3. And 3 is 30 divided by 10. Alright, we got there. That is certainly inconvenient, but it could be a lot worse. Now we do 691. Alright, so 691. What are we doing for this? So this is 9 less than 700, which... So 700 isn't that hard to get, right? So we just do 780 minus 80. Alright, so yeah, let's assume that this is what we're doing. We're 700 plus 9, or minus 9. So we're 700 minus 9. Then... Actually, I wonder if we could just go more directly. 780 minus 691 is 89. So 600 is 780 minus 89. And then 89 is 90 minus 1. And we can get 1 via any number of ways. And it's just, I guess, the easiest would be just like 30 divided by 6 divided by 5. So yeah, I guess let's write that down because it's not completely trivial. So 1 is 60 divided by 2 to 30 divided by 3... Wait, am I dumb? Did I do this math wrong? Alright, no, it's divided by 6. So we divide by 2 down to 30. Then we divide by 6 down to 5. And then we divide it by 5 down to 1. So this is actually 60 divided by 6 divided by 10. So we have a divide by 10 machine. Okay. This is quite possibly the dumbest thing I've ever done. But the math, I believe, checks out. So, this... We're dropping this down a floor, right? Eventually? Yes, and it looks like it's a full floor, too. So let's get a wall. And I hope I'm right that this is... Oh, I need to... I'm not in zoop mode somehow. Hopefully I'm right that that's just 10 down as the standard distance for these things nowadays. Let's see, if we put that out and we just sort of squint all the way over there, that looks about right. Okay. So, this all gets built out. We're going to need plenty of space for this monstrosity. There we are. And then we take this down like that. And let's get it all built up before we actually send it through, just so that we have it physically present. Alright, so then this comes down. I wish I had my signs down here with me. But we start with 383, which is 480 minus something, right? So 480 minus 97. Okay, so step one is get a smart splitter, actually, because that's gonna be necessary for later. Step 2 is a conveyor merger, which we need this to be... Actually, so this smart splitter is for determining between the heat sinks and the circuit boards. So then we need another smart splitter immediately afterwards to send things through to the two halves of this process. So we have heat sinks, one off some direction, circuit boards go forwards. Then here we have the main thing and then the decimal places. So let's take the main thing down this way and work on that. So we start with a priority merger, give you some space, because space is helpful. So that is 480 going in, 480 coming out. So this smart splitter gets 480. Now we need to split off 97. So it's center, overflow, left any. Actually, let's do right any, just because that's where we have space built out currently. So we get 97 out of this. Step 1 is to get 100, which I believe we worked out a relatively straightforward setup for this. So we get a splitter with 120. Then we merge up 40 plus 40 plus 20. And then that loops back in. We might need to end up using some of this space to get another priority merger in if we run out here. Hopefully that doesn't happen though. Alright, so then this is 100. So we have our belt of 100 there. And then we need that to lose 3, which means we get a splitter. And okay, so this splitter here. Why have I suddenly gotten disoriented? Okay, so we also need to get that set up, which we did already. So let's recap. This belt here is 100. I almost got completely twisted around there. This is the I don't even remember what that is. So this belt here is 100, right? We go, because we take our 120, we split it off, and we get down to 100 here. So then we split off that 100, and this needs to be a smart splitter for the ratios to work properly. So 30 goes there. So 60 goes that way. 30 of which merges right back in. So this is now 100. Get that connected. So this is 100 minus 60. So we have 40 plus 30. This is 70. Now over here we have 30. And we need to put in our 1 to 10 slower. 1 to 10 belt slower goes in here. And okay, this is backwards though. Right? So this just goes in like that. And then we get this goes into it. That gives us our 3 output. So that's 3. This is 30. Actually, we need to there's no way to flip this horizontally, is there? No, there isn't. Because we need the 3 to actually be the bit that merges back in to the start while the 30 goes forwards. Which, okay, maybe if we just align this so if we just have this facing out the other direction, then that should hopefully work. So if you're pointing this way, so then 30 of you just goes forwards again. And then we get our 1 to 10 belt slower in here. Like this. Connect that up. Okay, now we need this to get lined up. So this is our 27. That is that. And then this belt here returns in to our merger at the very beginning. So, let's see. End of the story. This here is a belt of 97. So, if this belt of... Wait, no. I've gotten this mixed up again, I think. Because this isn't trying to get 97. We're trying to subtract 97 from 480, right? 480 minus 97 is 383, which is the number we want. So this here is our ultimate belt of 480, which we need to get 97 out of, which means that actually... Did we have it right the first time? I think we had it right the first time, actually. So if this were looped around, the 20... This return to merger here, which is 27. No, that does go into the 97 belt, but this belt here needs to go into there. This belt here needs to go into there. Okay, so that is all kinda incredibly cursed, but whatever. So, we get this in. That connects back up. That goes forwards. And then, was there ever any good way of getting this over to here? Not really. Although, I guess we can just do ye old underground belt trick. So you go down to there and come back up there. And then this goes through to there. So yeah, as long as there is enough space on the next level down that a random belt running across the ceiling doesn't cause any problems, which should basically never be an issue. And then the other thing which could conceivably happen is that, like, we want to use this ceiling space for something else, but hopefully not. Alright, so we have that in. Now, I believe this functions, but let's get a sync on and check. Oh wait, no, this isn't done. This is half of our job. Right, so we have our 383 belt here, which let's label. So you get labeled as copper sheets 383. So that is that belt set up properly. Now we need to also get this belt out to be the 691, which means you also have to go down under and just pop up over here somewhere. And just something like that, and then we drop down, and please save that. Yeah, so this you have plenty of space for. And then that connects across. Okay, so now we have this belt here, which is, I believe, 780 minus 89 was our plan for this. 780 minus 89. So we have our priority merger in there, which gets fed by Mark 5 and then outputs a Mark 5 as well, so this belt will always be 780. Then, oh, we should get this set up probably so that it actually outputs to the two sides. So let's go right any, left overflow. It shouldn't really matter which, probably, because they should both be fully saturated, but let's have it set up like that. Alright, so now this is our belt of 780. Now we just need to get 89 off, which means we start with 90. So let's run some more foundation out here because we're going to need the space. So that's our belt of 780. And we have 90 is 60 plus 30 or 120, or is 60 plus 30 or 3/4 of 120? Let's do 3/4 of 120. That seems easier. So you get a splitter, which is going to be 120, and that's going to be left any center overflow. So this is 120. Then we have to send... wait, what do we have to do? We have to send 30 of it back in and just have the rest go forwards. So you get split again. You become a merger. And now you go like that. So we have 120 there. So that is 60 there, 30 there. And then this is 60 plus 30. So this is our belt of 90, which we now need to... Alright, so we have 780 minus 90. If we were to wrap that back in, then we would have 780 minus 90 is 690. But we need 691, which means we need to divide this. We need to subtract 1 off of this, which I had some wonderful scheme for, which is 60 divided by 6 divided by 10. All right, yeah, so that's straightforward. So we get this belt here is going to immediately smart split. And so we have our 90 going up that way. And then we have 60 coming out of it. Then that 60 needs to split into a couple different steps. And that's backwards. That's why it's not cooperating. That's still facing wrong. There we go. So that is 60. So step 1 is split this into 6, which means we take most of these guys and merge them up. So we get a merger there. So that is 1/3 merged up. That's 2/3 merged up, which is 4/6. Now we have this. That's 5/6 and 1/6. So our 5/6 needs to go back in with the 90. So we're going to... Right, so our 5/6 needs to go back in to here. Let me think. So this is our 90 here. And that's just that 60 plus that 30. Sends 90 through there. But if we want to send... So right, and then this goes back there, and this merges up to there. So let's actually swap these around so that we don't have to do more underground work. So all of those belts then come out, and we get this, which takes 1/3, 2/3, and so that's 4/6 into this. Then we make that 5/6 into that, and we merge it up. So then this merger is facing the wrong way. And I have no faith that is automatically snapping out of those belts, so we're going to dismantle them and rebuild. Alright, so that is 50, and we're left with 10 over here. Now we need our 10-to-1 belt slower, which, no, that's backwards again. I don't know why I keep wanting to build this thing backwards. It really looks like it goes that way, but it goes this way. Alright, so first of all, that connects into there. So we have 10. This is 9, that is 1. So this belt then loops around into that. That belt is absolutely hideous looking. I don't know, I have low standards for belts looking good, but that is atrocious. So you can go out like that and then in. So that is the 9. And this is our 1 output, which... So where does that go in? Where does the 1 output go in? Probably just back to the very beginning, maybe? Just back into here where it's not gonna cause any problems. Alright, so let's recap. We have 780 here. That gets medium priority. So we have 780 here. And some portion of that is going forwards into this to be our main line for future work. Then we have 120, which goes down to 90. So this is 90 here. And then we... Wait, this... Right, so we're trying to do 780 minus 89, which means that this actually goes in to there. So then we have this 90. This is the part which comes out and we need to just destroy, right? So this should be... And this should be 89 here, which we then put back into this loop to be part of the 780 going forwards, which means that this belt here, I believe, should be our 691 belt. So this is copper sheets 691. Probably. Because if we trust that this is taking 89 out, well, yeah, we trust that this is taking 90 out, and this is putting 1 back in. And if that's all true, then this is 691. Now, we just need to we just need to divide this by 1,000. That's all. Nothing crazy. Just divide it by 1,000. So we are going to need more space for that. So you can go underground a little bit. And there you go. And then this just comes back over to there where it comes out. Gosh, I'm actually just playing this like Factorio underground belts at this point, but I mean it works. It's a thing that you're allowed to do. Alright, we need power. We're sort of getting out of range of where I can float safely. So let's get that power pole, bring you down in there somewhere where hopefully you won't be in the way of anything. Alright, so now we need to connect that underground belt across, because unlike in Factorio, it doesn't automatically do this, which obviously it can't. Alright, so that is now connected across. So this is our belt of 691. Now, all we need to do is get a little bit of extra space over here and 10 to 1 belt slower. And we just have to literally just chain 3 of these together. So we have one of those. Then let's just stack these because it's all one thing. And then this all gets covered up so that we can build the next one directly on top of it. Okay, so now we get the next one, which goes up here. And let's see here. You need... Okay, we actually... So if this is perfectly stacked, now is this what we want though? So we need to get this output up to that input. We need to get both of these mergers together, and then preferably still have room to get that output up to the next row above. So let's think. How do we get this up to there? I guess if we add an additional row out here, and then we put that in, and then we're going to build all of this out of Mark 6 because why not? So then this all goes through. So our output from that one goes up to the input to the next row. Then we need another one of these. So let's get this up again. Fill in all of this space. That goes out to there. And we get another one. So then this one goes in, and it lines up the same as the other two. Okay, now we need you to go like back to there so that you line up properly. And then this output goes up to here and into this input like that. And now we just have to merge up. Oh, we also have to get that connected across, which we'll leave that as that. So now all of these need to merge together, which we should be able to do just with some of these. So actually, if we point this like that, that actually works quite nicely, I think. So you go in, you then go across a little bit, and then up and in. Alright, I've hidden my HUD, which is making that quite difficult. Alright, so then you go all the way across to here before going in, and then let's see here. How do we get this top one in conveniently? I guess we could just go a little bit. Yeah, okay, so the top one we can just curve a little bit. We have the room for that. Okay. So you are going to be going in this side. Like that. And then you go up through the floor like that. So that gets... I think that's lined up. Yes, it is. And then you pop up there. And that goes in. Or not. Take that out. Give you more room to maneuver. And then you go in. Alright. So then, this up here should be 0.691, which we can then bring down to the bottom floor where most of the stuff is happening. And this can be a Mark 1 belt if anything ever can. So this all goes out like that. And you can just skip through that level because that's a very local level. And then this belt just comes all the way along and goes into here. And that connects up. Then that connects up. And finally, we have a sink and a smart splitter going into the sink. Okay. So, you get connected up to a power pole, which the nearest one's over there, I guess. Okay. If this all works first try, it'll be a miracle. And if it doesn't, then we'll find out soon. Center overflow left any. It has been activated. Alright, so first of all, immediately you are sending most of your stuff through this way. That shouldn't be a permanent thing. Okay, it looks like I forgot at least one belt in here. Yes. Wait, maybe? Maybe? So this is the one that's supposed to take the 90 out, right? So we have 120 there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be a belt. And I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be right any center overflow. Let's just think. So this is 90. This is taking out... What on earth is this doing? Oh, right. This is taking out 10, right? So we have 60 there. And the remaining 30 would go this way, presumably. And then 20 of those go back. This isn't set up properly. So that needs a connection. So this is 60, and we go 20, 20, 20. Most of that merges back, except this goes 10 and 10. And then 9 of those go back. 1 and 10 go out. Okay, so this isn't working at all. So what is the problem here? Oh, the problem here is that this isn't actually connected back. So this needs to get all the way back to here, I think. So, you get one of those. Then this merges back that way. And that gets connected up. Okay, so that is that. Now that is running back properly. So that should hopefully get this working. It's going to take a while for this to split through if it is. So this isn't getting enough of its stuff out quickly enough. And it's choppy. So is there like a belt speed? Is there a belt speed limitation in here? I don't think so. I think it's just this. Yeah, so this is the problem here. We've got too much saturated onto this belt for it to work, but it is getting there. So these numbers are decreasing significantly over time. And yeah, it's going to be a while before this gets all set up. So is this 383? Because this should fix itself a lot faster. And I mean, this is like... Okay, so something over here isn't working, I don't think. Yeah, this needs to be right any center overflow. That's another smart splitter that I forgot to set. So now that is 60, 30. So yeah, this is supposed to be 3 looping back. So that should get that fixed up. And this is already starting to become more scarce. So we have theoretically 691 on this belt. Let's scan that in. See if that's about right. Well, it pops in at exactly that number at 690, so that's encouraging. And then we do have the occasional, maybe 1-ish per minute going through this system. So that looks good. And then we just need this to stop being so crazy. Which mostly just revolves around all of this stuff getting sent back fast enough. So actually, if I just like stand here and mash for a bit, this will decrease the amount of copper in the loop overall and make sure that it's able to get out fast enough. I'm going to have to do a lot of this mashing because there's going to be a lot of copper in this loop. But eventually this should be not quite a Mark V belt. It should be 690 something. A little bit more than that because there's some in there that's getting merged back with. Okay, so that is hit. Now this is limited properly. And we're just going to take a little bit more out. And there we go. That should be all clear now. And now we should be getting approximately 2 a minute out of this. So this is showing 691 with the occasional bump up, getting it to that. And this is doing its thing. Now, hopefully it's not doing its thing too effectively, but we do, yes, we occasionally get one up here, and then the vast majority of the time it goes around that way. Alright. So this, I believe, is fixed. It's hard to tell. I mean, putting a throughput monitor on this won't do anything. It'll either show us 0 or 1 at any given time, which is not helpful at all. So we just sort of have to eyeball it. And I guess once the other side is set up, once this is actually outputting into a factory, then we'll be able to tell whether it's working or not based on whether that factory is getting enough. If that factory is running at like 99%, then we'll know something's wrong. But I guess what we can do though is, so this is 691 in there, which means that should be about 70, and that should be about 7. That's showing 70. Somewhere between 70 and 75 for that one. That's showing 8. Alright, so yeah, it looks like it's working. At least based on those metrics. At least based on those metrics, this whole thing is indeed working. And over here, okay, this is showing 363, not 383. So where is the missing 20? We have to figure that out. So this is 480. It's exactly 20 short. Exactly 20 short. All right. So that's a good hint, although I'm just going to have to look through it all to figure out. So we have this merger. Is this connected in properly? It is. And there's no backlog here, right? So we have 480 here. And we're trying to take off... Okay, yeah, they've got all sorts of new websites that they're trying to spam to now. So we are trying to take off... How much is this? 120 off of this. And... Let's see. So this splits into 3. So we have 40, 40, 40. 20 goes back into here. That's incredibly suspicious because we're missing 20. So, anyway, so this is 480. Oh, I think I know. Because this is going in afterward, this is going in back here. This is actually 480 minus the full 120. As opposed to just minus 100. Right, that's the issue. Alright, so we can fix that relatively easily. We just have to swap this around. So the extra 20 has to go back in. I guess we could just pop it in there. So we get that goes that way and that way. Not whatever that was. Then this goes forwards and that way. So now we have 120 there, 40, 40, 20. That's 100 as usual, but this time the extra 20 actually goes into the system, and we should have our 383 now. Alright, so that is good. If there's a mistake like that on this belt, how are we ever going to find that? Who knows? But, I mean, this is showing 691. This is showing 69. This is showing between 6 and 7. So I believe that's correct too. Which means that this has been a success. Alright, and conveniently, it is 4:59. So that is right about when I usually wrap up my stream. So we're going to do that now. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Had a lot of fun as usual. We fixed the aluminum shortage, and we've done the world's most psychotic load balancing setup. And yeah, that's about it. We will be doing Factorio again tomorrow, where we are continuing to work on Aquilo. We have some science output, but we need more. And so that'll be fun. We'll be back in Satisfactory on Tuesday, where we'll be doing more of this probably. Probably some more unhinged load balancing setups. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I stream every weekday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time, alternating between various factory building games. So if you're interested in any of that, make sure to follow if you haven't already so that you know when I'm live. and stop by in the future. And if you have already followed, thanks, that's pretty cool. So, that's about it. I'm going to sign off now. Thanks for hanging out.